Hey, today I'm going to talk about the concept of responsibility leading to freedom. I have been in numerous groups or involved with, different pockets of society, if we can call it like that, where people have had, freedom as one of their top values, and they have had their own concept of freedom and what that looks like. And what I've noticed over the years is that the interpretation of freedom, can vastly differ. Freedom actually has a spectrum, as with many things. And today I want to share about where I'm at with the concept of freedom and where responsibility is with that, and why I feel that responsibility is a large part of creating authentic freedom. This kind of topic, I'm aware, can seem quite paradoxical to some people. And, because many would associate responsibility with burden, and then they would interpret the concept of freedom as release, right? However, the way I see it is that at this moment in time is that responsibility can be the gateway to true and lasting freedom, both personally and also as a society, community, network, insert group right there. So, because the way I see real freedom is it's not the absence of rules, structure, and accountability. It's a result of choosing your actions, choices, and consequences. And mastery can lead to liberation as one aspect of it. So taking responsibility for your emotions, for your habits and your thoughts, and being more aware of your inner world creates accountability, right? We can't always control what enters into our mind or the emotions that arise in us, but at least being aware of the thought and recognizing when it is and when it's not yours. And then you can decide, well, is it actually something I need to act on, or is this just a train passing through of a collective trauma or an inner pattern from a long time ago that's just passing through? When, with emotions, it's like, okay, this is arising. What do I need to do to move through it so that it's not stuck in the body and I'm not projecting it out into others in an unhealthy way? That's what I'm talking about when you're taking responsibility for your emotions and your thoughts and your habits, right? Because your habits are then created from your thoughts and your emotions, and they do operate a little bit differently, as I just described then. So habit is more of the after effect, right, of the thought and of emotion. So if you've got your thoughts, aware of them, choosing whether you act on them or not, choosing whether they're yours or not to install in your hardware, and then your emotion, it's arising. What do I want to do with this? Again, it's a choice. And then you can come to your choices of your habits with a lot more clarity, right? And introspection. So, competence creates choice. This is another element to it as well. So, when you're looking at things like financial competence, health competence, communication, etc., taking ownership leads to capability, which provides the freedom of movement and decision, is what I'm trying to say with that one. When we're trying to take ownership of like physical, material world, whatever, that's different. It's kind of a different concept. I'm kind of in that camp where you don't really ever own a piece of land, that kind of way of seeing the world. But there's a level of trying to take ownership of your own inner world and the skills and your capabilities. That really is a lot more of your responsibility. That really is something that you can take more of an ownership of. And, so if there's certain skills and things you want to master, again, leading back to earlier, then you can put some time and energy and invest into that, right? To bring your capabilities of whether it be financial or health or relationships or communication, like you can intentionally put time and energy into that. And when you become more and more capable and confident and comfortable with these things, then it's like you've got a lot that you can offer. to the world, not just to yourself, but to the world, to the people immediately, even within your vicinity, right? And that can lead to more freedom for you. You're not having to solely rely on this, that, and the other externally. Now, I'm not talking about getting into hyper independence either. That's another whole thing. We're talking about how do we get into this interdependence, moving away from codependence, not swinging into this interdependence, but this interdependence, right? And you have the awareness of the self, aware of your capabilities and your skills, and then you can also notice it in the other, and it's like, okay, well then how do we bring this together so that we become even more? Yeah, I'm sure you get what I mean by that. So there's this other aspect of responsibility as well, where it actually gives direction, right? There can be like this kind of unnecessary chaos that's created in some concepts of freedom. However, when you choose your values and obligations, then you create structure that supports growth. It makes a lot of sense to me. If it doesn't for you, let me know and we talk about it more. So, and this is going to help you, or can help you, with aligning with your current purpose. And then there's this other aspect, obviously, of relational responsibility, right? And this builds trust. Now, when we're talking about people, yes, you can build relationships with plants and animals and land and objects, things like that. But what I'm talking about here is more about your relationships with people, with the human being, right? And freedom often flourishes when both people or the group of people are accountable for like their own feelings, their needs, their behavior. There's feelings that arise. There's none of this sort of unnecessary projection upon another. Needs arise. People know how to communicate. They know who they can go to support those needs. They know what it is that they need, and we can't meet all of our needs on our own. You can seek that through the divine or whatever, insert your faith or philosophy there. But we're also living in a time and a space where our needs do actually have to be met by other people in certain ways. And again, not coming from this codependent space, but there's more of this interdependence. When you're in relationship with people, it's like recognizing when you need things, communicating that, knowing how to communicate that with them in a way that lands with them really well, and asking for it to be met if it needs to be met with that person. And then also, if it's not able to be met, well, can they meet you some part of the way, or does the need to be met elsewhere? Is it something that you need to cultivate more inside yourself? You know what I mean? There's a lot of nuance to that. I'm not going to go too far into it. And when there's relationship responsibility, it builds trust, right? It allows more safety, and it then also allows for more of an authentic connection and mutual respect. So people are feeling more safe to be as they actually are in their state. Like, they're vulnerable, but they're not bleeding out everywhere, if I can put it in that way either. Because it's like, yeah, there's times when challenges, real, true, big T, trauma challenges arise, and of course there might be moments where it's like an emotional bleeding out more. So, but you're doing the work to move through that, and also not trying to dump it upon someone else, like they must take it from you. If you get what I mean by that. And it's okay to ask for support and help, but it's the recognition of that support is it's momentarily there to bring you into a better space, to then be able to cultivate that yourself, so that you're not having to have this dependent relationship of going back to try and get that fix or whatever it is that you're seeking. So yeah, and then you can just be that authentic self of, if you're not having a great day, then you say you're not having a great day, and you talk about, what's going on for you and all of that. But it's not a blaming of the other person. There's a time and place for that, but we're talking about extreme examples there of physical, mental, emotional abuse. if it's not in that realm, then it's like, okay, and this is happening. This is what I think I need. Could you help me with this? You know. And again, if they say no, then it's, you have to respect that. You know, because not all of our cups are full all the time as well. So again, yes, not seeking all of this on one person. You know, that's why we lived in community together. We lived in groups together. So that responsibility wasn't just placed all upon one person or just all upon yourself. It was shared amongst each other, and everyone's needs were being met in certain ways. So yes, you know, and that creates a lot of mutual respect as well. Yeah. The responsibility, the way I see it at this moment in time, it's a lot about agency. You know, it's co-creating life in a way that you're conscious, you're aware of what it is that you're actually co-creating. You know, and real freedom is built upon and built through real responsibility. And that's just my current interpretation, thought, feeling about responsibility leading to freedom, and where I see true freedom as it is. You're welcome to have a completely different perspective or slightly different perspective as well. If you've got any comments or questions, welcome to leave that in the comment section below. If you want to reach out to me on various other social media platforms or email, the links to those are in the description box below. And we'll see you again soon.